I'm actually happy that Exosisters can finally do something again. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and welcome if you're new here. I'm Don, and I've been summoned to do an Exosister overview. Let's get into it. As per usual, what are the Exosisters? Exosister is an Xyz archetype that relies mainly on anti-graveyard strategies via the means of banishment or straight up floodgates. And what are the pros and cons of this deck? The first pro would be that it's a fairly linear combo deck that you can easily get into, to be honest. So it's a lot more welcoming to newcomers. And as for the second pro would be that it's very oppressive against graveyard reliant decks and decks that are banish phobic. For its final notable quality, it has a few one-card combos, and that is really good in a format that is a lot more toned down like Genesys. And it's also a 0-point archetype, so that's another bonus. As for the cons, given the fact that its combos are fairly simple and linear, it's a lot easy to stop, so its choke points are very visible. And another con is that its end board is pretty small, so the interactions can easily be played around, and you as the player would have to know the right timing of when to use your interactions, because you don't want to be too slow when using your interactions. Another con would be its consistency, which it just got support in means of the spirit monster Shiori, which can add any Exosister monster from your deck to your hand on summon, so that's a plus. And for the final con that I would say is the strict ruling on the earlier cards. So all Exosister monsters have an effect that if a card is moved from the graveyard, they can Xyz summon using themselves. However though, the older Exosister monsters, they only trigger if your opponent move a card from the graveyard, while the new Exosister monster, which was Martha, it can Xyz summon whether you or your opponent move a card from the graveyard. If all of them had the effect that Martha has, I'm pretty sure the archetype would have seen a lot more play, but seeing that they're so restrictive, that's really one of the main issues. But you can't really have it all. Alright, so let's get into the cards. We'll go over the less impactful cards first and then the most impactful cards afterwards. The first ones would be Irene and Sophia, which would be the first pair. Whenever they activate their effect on the field and they see their partner, they'll gain 800 life points. So I won't really mention that going forward. I'll just mention the pairs. So if Irene is on the field, you can place an Exosister card from your hand to the bottom of the deck, draw a card. If Sophia is on the field and you control another Exosister monster, you can draw a card. Now for the next pair would be Stella and Alice. Stella has the effect that during the main phase, you can special summon an Exosister monster from your hand. As for Alice, if you control an Exosister monster, you can special summon this card. As for the best Exosister main deck monster, Martha, if you control no monsters or only Xyz monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, you can special summon an Exosister Alice from your deck. Also, you cannot special summon monsters the turn you activate this effect other than Exosister monsters. So this is why these spirits are important. And now for the spells and traps. The first one will be Pacts. You pay 800 life points to add any Exosister card except Pact. And if you added a monster and it mentions a monster that is either on your field or in the grave, you can special summon that monster. Now for the next spell, Armament. You pay 800 life points, target an Exosister monster you control, Xyz summon another Exosister Xyz with a different name for monsters you control. It is treated as an Xyz summon, and you can only activate this card during your opponent's turn. However, if your opponent controls a monster special summon from the graveyard, you can activate it in your turn. Now for the final spell, which would be Harp. Neither player can target Exosister monsters you control with monster effects that were special summoned from the graveyard. The most important effect is that if you Xyz summon an Exosister monster, you can declare a card name and then negate the activated effect and effects on the field of cards with that original name until the end phase. So if you Xyz summon and you call Nibiru and they try to nib you, then the nib would be negated. Also, when an attack is declared involving an Exosister monster, you can target a spell or trap on the field, destroy it. Now for the traps, we have Vadis, which pretty much pays 800 life points to special summon an Exosister pair from the deck. You select a monster and then special summon another monster that mentions it. So if you don't have any pairs, you can activate this card. As for the final trap card, which would be Returnia, if all monsters you control are Exosister monsters, minimum of 1, which that means if you don't have any, you cannot activate this card. You can pay 800 life points, target target a card your opponent controls or in their grave, banish it, and then apply one of the following effects. Immediately after, you can Xe summon an Exosister Xyz monster using monsters you control, or if you Xe summon this turn already, you can banish another card your opponent controls. Now for the cards that will be trying to summon the Xyz, first one would be Gibran, which has the effect similar to Astafel, where it cannot be destroyed by the activated effects of monsters special summoned from the graveyard. And once per turn, if you control this card that was Xe summoned using an Exosister monster as material, you have the quick effect to target an opponent's monster and negate its effect until the end phase. And during your turn, you can detach a material from this card, and for the rest of the turn, all Xyz monsters you control will gain 800 attack points. The next monster would be Astafel, which is one of our floodgates. Once per turn, if it was Xe summoned using an Exosister monster, neither player can activate card effects in the graveyard. And during your turn, you have the effect to detach, target a monster your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So now let's move on to the next pair, which would be Caspatel and Michaelis. They both have the effect that they cannot be destroyed by battle with a monster special summoned from the graveyard. This is also one of our floodgates, where once per turn, if it's Xe summoned using an Exosister monster, neither player can special summon monsters from the graveyard for the rest of the turn. During your turn, you can detach a material from this card, add an Exosister monster from your deck to your hand. Now for Michaelis, during the turn that it was summoned using an Exosister monster, you have the quick effect to target a card in your opponent's grave or on the field and banish it. While during your turn, you can detach a material to add an Exosister spell or trap card. Now for our final Xyz, which would be Magnifica, it's a rank 8 that you can summon using 2 rank 4 Exosister monsters, and it must be summoned this way. Once per turn, you have the quick effect to detach a material and banish a card on your opponent's field, non-target. Then if your opponent activate a card or effect, you can use this quick effect to return an Xyz material from this card to the extra deck, and then you have the option to Xyz summon that card that you returned on top of this card, and it's treated as an Xyz summon. So if you manage to have a card like Kali Yuga or Rebellion Falcon underneath this card as a material, you can return them to the extra deck whenever your opponent activate a card, and then summon them, applying their Xyz summon effect. So that's another cool thing that you can do. There is a play where you can do this by using Zexal Whirl to put those monsters underneath the Magnifica, but that's a tedious combo that I really won't get into. Now for the support cards that you can use, the first set of cards would be the spirit monsters. That would be Aritama and Sakitama, because they don't really special summon. They're pretty much an additional normal summon package. Aritama adds you the Sakitama, which has the effect to normal summon itself, or you can normal summon another spirit monster. But now seeing that we have the new spirit monster, which is Sayuri, you can go Aritama into Sayuri, which Sayuri can normal summon itself because you control a monster that has either 800 attack or 800 defense, and on summon it can add a monster that has either 800 attack or 800 defense that's a level 4 light or dark monster. So that's it. Seeing that all of your Exosister monsters have 800 defense, it can add your entire main deck monsters. As for spells, you can play cards like 7 Tachyon, revealing number 104 because it's a light spellcaster, and that's your entire archetype. Or if you don't have 7 Tachyon lying around, you can just try Small World, and that's pretty much it. Similar to the Spirit package, if you want to play monster board breakers, you obviously can't play Kaijus because they special summon, so they'll lock off your Marta. So you can play cards like Spear Mode, which it doesn't really affect you because if you already have Marta in the hand, you can always Spear Mode the field, Marta effect to special from the deck, and then you can just go full combo. And because Magnifica doesn't target, you can just banish the Spear Mode and then attack. Here's what you can do with arguably the best card of the archetype. Alright, so with the packs, it all depends on what you have or don't have, then you'll add with the packs. Sometimes you already open the Returnia or even your combo pieces, so you can always save the pack for your opponent's turn. Let's say you don't know what you're playing against, you can always set the pack, and if your opponent would use an effect to special summon a monster from the graveyard or move a card from the graveyard, then you can chain the packs, add something like a Martha or even like Green if her counterpart is in the grave, special summon her, and then they'll trigger because they recognize that your opponent moves a card from the graveyard. And that's how you can cheat out another Xyz monster in your opponent's turn, like one of your floodgates. Alright, so this one will pretty much show you the best you can do. So let's get into it. So the only viable option to add right here would be your Martha, because it would be your next one card combo. So you already have 2 4s on the board, so you can make any one of your Exosister Xyz monsters, so your Martha would be live in your hand. So you can also do a play like this if you already have the Returner in hand. And what would this pretty much do would make the Stella be on the field, because you have the Ellis in the grave, and the Stella will use its effect to special summon the Sophia. And seeing that you have an Exosister monster in the field, Sophia will be able to draw you a card, possibly another hand trap or any form of interruption that you'd need. If you made this far in the video, remember, you can leave a like, that would be appreciated. Also, if you want to see more videos from me, you can check out my channel. Then, if you want to see more videos from me in the future, you can subscribe to the channel. Let's get back into the video. Let's be honest, most likely you're not always going to be drawing the best of hands. You might draw hands like this sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with having a 2-card combo. That's why Sayori is so good. Let's look at it. Alright, so you have an Ellis. In case your opponent moves a card from their graveyard, you have her effect to trigger. You could have always like added something else, but it's an option that you can do. And to be honest, adding your Ellis, you could say would be bad, because you always want enough Ellis in the deck for either your Vladis or your Martha to be used. If all of your Ellis are in the graveyard, then you can't use the effect of Martha, and you can't use the effect of Vladis if all of your peers are in the grave, or at least one of your peer is in the grave. And that'll be it for the video today, guys. See you guys next time.